I'd love to tell you a little bit about our rescue program.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to get more into this rescue program, right? And if anybody's listening out there and you feel that you're struggling, or you know someone that is struggling, don't wait. Dial 1-800-RECOVERY. What is it?
1-800-RECOVERY.
Dial 1-800-RECOVERY. You tell them Marlon sent you. You tell them Stephanie sent you. It doesn't matter what you say, just get some help. It doesn't matter whether you come to us. Call the number. If it's not fit for us, we'll get you somewhere to go. Please don't sit in suffering. Dial 1-800-RECOVERY. Welcome back to Eye of the Storm. We're filming on location at Lighthouse, and we have Stephanie Davis with us, and we're talking about our first responders and rescue program. And Stephanie, where did we leave off?
So I was just about to tell you some amazing things about our rescue program, and
Please
I promise I won't drag it out too bad. So our rescue program, like I said before, is a program for first responders by first responders. Our advisory board is very active to this day and will remain so. So when you're greeted at our Raritan Bay location in South Amboy, New Jersey, you are very confidentially brought into admissions to start the process. At that point, you're met and greeted by one of our rescue staff. Our rescue staff is comprised of active and retired first responder physicians. Our primary therapist is an active fire chief. Our RSSs are active and retired military. Our case management is retired law enforcement. So not only did we build a program for first responders by first responders.
So if anybody's listening, the staff that's going to be treating you is either retired or active in our first responders world. So if you're feeling that you're coming into treatment, you're not going to be comfortable, you're going to be in an area where you feel vulnerable, it's not any of that. This is about you, and you are entitled to get help just like everybody else. And we have a program that surrounds what you do. How wonderful is that?
It is. It really is. And I'll tell you, our clinical team has an amazing phrase. They say, they're equal but different, right? And that's really based around the fact that our first responders program is completely a unit and isolated in and of its own. So you live with other first responders, you eat with other first responders, you program with other first responders. You're not mixed into general population at all. We're really overcoming that disconnection with reconnection for those who understand what you're walking through and can really breathe that hope and healing together.
So we made a point of saying that you're doing programming together as a first responders unit. So if anybody's out there that's in the field, first responder field, and feel that they can't go to treatment because they might be in treatment with somebody that possibly they arrested.
Not going to happen in our rescue program.
So we've thought about that. We've thought it through over and over and over again on how we can make it comfortable for you. And this is how we're doing it. It's a separate unit. So we have a unit in Raritan Bay. We have a separate unit in Devon, Pennsylvania. And we are ready to serve. And you don't have to worry about an uncomfortable situation.
Or a breach of confidentiality.
And I'm not saying that recovery is something that's going to be easy, because it's not. But this is an investment in yourself, right? And we are ready to handle that investment.
And reconnect.
And reconnect, right. So I want to bring up another area that we're able to treat that I have not heard anybody else who's able to do. So liver transplant patients.
Yes, sir.
So today is new for me in learning about this. I did not know that we were able to accept, and you did educate me that other programs have not gotten into this, or many others have not. Please tell me about this.
So I have another amazing warrior on my team by the name of Josh Sewell. and Josh Sewell is my New York team
Mhm.
lead. He was early in his career really building a relationship with our local hospitals. As we know, especially through the pandemic, they were really overwhelmed, overworked, overrun, and a lot of things fell through the cracks that most of us don't think of every day.
Sure.
And through a relationship with one of our New York hospitals, there was a unique situation that was presented to us, and that we have a group of individuals who have really lost liver function and are in need of or have recently had a liver transplant around substance use. And we know that our medical community has done a phenomenal job of really safeguarding those vital organs and those transplant procedures, and requiring that someone who's needs that be engaged in recovery services and really find that long-lasting and meaningful recovery to ultimately live and take full advantage of a second chance on life.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, a lot of hospital-based recovery units were forced to shut down and open room for COVID beds and really meet the pandemic face on, which left a population of folks that either needed liver transplants or had just seen liver transplants with nowhere to go but home, with no hope for recovery, with relapse knocking on their door every second of every day. And we saw the situation getting very, very dire. Through that plight to really meet those who were actively dying from this disease with nowhere to turn and no one to take them in, Josh and I set on a mission with two of our CEOs, Dawn Bellamarch here at Lighthouse and David Dorsey at Raritan Bay, and both of our medical teams to really say, how do we stand up and serve our community and really combat this disease where others are falling short? And so our liver transplant program was really bred from, and I can't mention the hospital because I'm not sure if it would be okay with them, from a major hospital in New York City, and our medical team sitting down saying, what can we safely and effectively do to serve this population and get them the vital transplants and recovery that they need to live. So we started a liver transplant program here at Lighthouse in Mays Landing, and our medical director, Dr. Cork, works hand in hand with the liver transplant hospitals. We've accepted patients as soon as 7 days post-op after a liver transplant, and we have one that will be joining us today who's on the transplant list who, without Recovery Centers of America, a liver transplant isn't an option. He has to be clean and sober in order to receive that organ. So, it is a program that we have our 24-hour nursing that's available to all of our patients, but we're utilizing that option that we put into place to really make a difference. We're working hand in hand with local providers to make sure that every little unique need is met right here on site. All the services come to you, the medical care comes to you, doctors are meeting on a daily and weekly basis to discuss labs and blood work and everything that we need to do to make sure that not only you're meeting and exceeding expectations when it comes to long-lasting and meaningful recovery, but that your medical needs are not only met, but maintained through the process.
So my heart is just like wide open. We're talking about someone who's diagnosed with something that, just like drug addiction, could kill them in an instant, right? And now we're able to admit them and treat them for their addictions. And this brings up a memory of mine. I was fortunate enough to serve as leadership in one of our sites down south, and we had a patient, which of course I won't mention a name, struggling with cancer. And I was worried, how are we going to take care of this person? They need to go out for chemo, they need all of these other appointments that surround this unfortunate disease. What are we gonna do? And then when I'm talking to the admission team on how we're going to approach this, all of them in the room says, we're just gonna do it. We're gonna get this person in and we're gonna treat them, and we're going to accept because this person needs us. And I just sat there in disbelief, like, okay, now I gotta figure out a plan around all this, because I don't wanna fail, right? And when I met the patient, it just made it that much more important that we think everything through. So when I hear about liver transplants and things that we're actually doing with other providers in hospitals and making sure we cross our T's and dot our I's, to me, it is a true message that we are providing hope for everybody.
We really are. Marlon, we're affordable, accessible,
Yeah.
quality care right in the backyard.
You know, when I met Brian the first time, Brian O'Neill is our owner, and when I met him the first time, it was in the Marriott West Hotel, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And the first thing he said to me is, "What are you going to do to help somebody? Who are you?" You know, and I kept saying, "I'm a guy who can open up a store. I can create any kind of food you're thinking of. Maybe I should run your kitchens for you." Right? And I remember this, and he says, No. Who are you? Why are you sitting in front of me? Because what are you going to do to help somebody? And he kept doing this on the table. And if anybody out there knows Brian O'Neill, the passion for this is huge. You're not going to be here just to sit around and twiddle your thumbs. You're going to get out there and you're going to help somebody. And finally, he said to me, "You know who you are? You're a patient advocate. And you're going to advocate for everybody in front of you because that's what I feel from you." So what we're doing is providing hope for everybody. Any person that I go in front of, I never say no. I just say, how can we?
Exactly. You know, one of the best things about this company is the passion starts at the top
Mhm.
and it bleeds right down into our patients, into our community, into our local police departments, our local hospitals, our local unions, our local EAP providers.
Oh, yeah.
Really those that we don't even think of that are on the front line of this disease day in and day out, looking for affordable, accessible, quality care
Yes.
that really gets us to long-lasting and meaningful recovery.
Mhm.
And that's what RCA is about. Right here in your own backyard,
Yes.
there's a place for hope and healing. And that's what my team does every day, is we're really engaged. We're the soldiers of the company, if you will. We're putting boots to the ground every day, looking for opportunities in our community that have been pushed aside or neglected or not noticed or maybe even just not heard,
Mhm.
and really bringing them to the light and saying, how do we show up and help somebody today?
I agree, and that's just a great way to put it. So in closing, I would like to say Stephanie and her team are boots on the ground hope. When you need somebody or you need help, and even if it's a question about somebody else, that's okay too. Because I've had conversations of people talking about someone else, but they're talking about themselves. I'm sure you've had that too, right? Well, I've got a friend who does this, and that. And I've tried so many times to help this person, and I'm looking in that person's eyes knowing, when is it going to be when you say it's me, right? And those are the techniques that we kind of use where we're not looking to put you on the spot.
Or a mother or a wife or a daughter,
Sure.
or even a coworker, and you just know,
Yes.
and maybe that person doesn't yet.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great things I love about this, and before closing, is we offer free intervention services
Great
throughout our
service.
entire line of
And
services.
let's talk about the intervention service. The intervention service is a professional interventionist that will communicate with someone who's on the fence, either by phone, by WebEx, or they will show up at the hotel or at their door. It does not matter whether you come to us for treatment or not. It's just a service to bridge the gap to get you to accept some kind of help. I don't know any company out there that's doing that.
So if you do have a loved one, if you do know someone who's sick and suffering, please pick up the phone. We don't need all the details right away. We just want to help you create that path to hope and healing and really get us engaged to stop the disease of
And
disconnection.
and what would they do? And who would they call?
1-800-RECOVERY.
1-800-RECOVERY. We're open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We're available whenever you're ready. And I say that whenever you're ready, because we're ready. If you're sitting there and you are struggling or know someone who is struggling, please don't wait. Call 1-800-RECOVERY. We're waiting for you.
Thanks for having me, Marlon.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And I knew this would be something that you would do well in, because there's a lot that we're trying to do out here. The more people we could reach, this is not a glory. This is about reaching people to get service. And we are all true soldiers, aren't we?
We are.
We were just talking about trying to do something else, right?
God won't let
I
us.
won't, because I've tried, and Brian, don't get mad at me, but I have tried to see what else is out there, maybe real estate or maybe something else. And every time I got to a point where I was gonna make a decision, I always said no. I like where I am, I like what I do, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
It's home, isn't it?
It's home. It's home. And this building, in particular, Lighthouse, and we call it the House of Light, is definitely home for me, because this is where I began my journey.
And this is where it all started.
I didn't even know what a patient advocate was when they gave me the job, but RCA and Lighthouse have given me the chance to be a sponge and do exactly what I'm supposed to do. So none of this is a coincidence to me. So thank you all for listening. And again, our lines are open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can call at 4 o'clock in the morning and someone will answer. We're looking forward to you stepping up for yourself. Thank you for listening. Welcome to Eye of the Storm. My name is Marlon. We're filming on location at Lighthouse. We call it the House of Light in Mays Landing, New Jersey. I am pleased to have Pastor Zack on. Zack, I have to admit, you're one of my favorite people in the building, and the reason why I say that is not because I'm trying to get points upstairs, right? Well, I am, but I say it because every time I go into your office, or actually even enter the cafeteria when you're speaking, everybody is so excited to get started in this group. How many times do you watch patients that don't want to go to a group, and they fuss, and they don't participate, but when they're in your groups, it's a warmth that overwhelms everybody, even the audience. I feel it as soon as I'm around you and as soon as I'm in that room. And I just feel that the service that you're providing by allowing people to continue their faith while they're struggling with this terrible disease, it's almost like a 2-for-1, where you get to come in and medically address the things that you're struggling with, but also continue with your faith, which is so important, and things that have kind of been pushed away from us during COVID. Can't go into a church, everything is virtual. It separates us from what's important, and our faith, our belief, our congregation, our connection with people. During COVID, we've struggled with that, and I feel, and I think this is a thought that everybody has, that when they're at Lighthouse, they have you. It's not just, I don't have anywhere to pray, I don't know what to do, I don't know who to talk to. You're another person besides a therapist, a case manager, an RSS, they can let it out on. And when you're in a building for 30 days at a time, and you're struggling going through all of these different emotions as you heal, and then they get to meet you. And it's just another a layer of comfort. And I wanted to, before you talk about your program, I wanted to just personally thank you, because it's people like you and programs like this that really, really save people spiritually. It's really important. Mind, body, and soul, right?
Yeah.
I think that we're feeding it all here, and I think that the more the program shows itself, the more it's just, this is a matter of fact of what we do here, and like I said, I wanted to thank you, and I wanted you to talk about what you do and how you feel when you touch someone or something touches you. And after Zack is finished, we'll talk about something that touched him, that surprised me, that I didn't know what to do for you. I didn't know whether I was supposed to hug you, I was supposed to just say, are you okay? I've never seen you like that. But we'll allow Zack to talk about what he does and the impact that it has. And then we'll get back to me putting him on the spot. So, go ahead, Zack.
Marlon, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for your kind words, man.
Oh.
That means so much to me. It really does. And I would have to say that you're one of my favorite people here too. Really, man. Thank you so much for having me on. That warm feeling, that peace that people experience when they come to the service. I believe that my job as a spiritual advisor here is to host the presence of God. See, I believe that it's the presence of God that brings freedom to people's lives. You know, one of my favorite authors, Leonard Ravenhill, he used to say, church used to be a place where people met with God. Now it's just a place to hear about Him. You see, the services that take place here, the meetings, the spiritual meetings, it's not just a meeting with information. God actually invades the service. He invades the meeting with His presence. So what I do is I take a moment to welcome Him. And when He shows up, it prepares the hearts of the people to hear truth. When our hearts aren't prepared to hear truth, truth is just information and it never brings transformation. So my job as a spiritual advisor is to bring the presence of God. Now, the presence of God is everywhere, but as a spiritual advisor, I host His presence so that He can make His presence known. That's what changes lives.
You know, it's a great line that you just gave. You know, it hosts the presence of God, right? And God is always present in our lives, right? But it's just like daily life. There's a million doors that open up for us, right? That we see, but we don't know what door to walk through. You're in your career, you have all these opportunities, and to me, those are open doors that God provides for us to make our own choices, right? So, and I'm a firm believer that God helps those who help themselves, right? I am a firm believer in that because when you're ready to accept the faith, the doors are still open.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm mad at you, you didn't walk through that door, the door closes, right? So, God, I just wanted to bring that up because I feel that the presence of God is everywhere.
Yeah.
And the doors are open everywhere, and people like yourselves are there to serve.
Yeah.
We have to seek them out.
Yeah, it's so good. The majority of the patients that walk through these doors are carrying the baggage of self-condemnation, self-hatred. They can't even stand the reflection that comes off of the mirror. They can't even look at themselves.
Yeah.
So when the presence of God comes in and softens their heart, I believe that it's the God of love who changes our lenses on how we see Him, how we see ourselves, and how we see others. It's love.
Can I tell you how it changed for me?
Come on.
So, I was in the bagel business. I had bagel stores and cafes. I was in wholesale with food industries in New York. My truck broke down, and I had to take the train and the bus to work. As I got off the bus, there was this lady who would sit, a homeless lady who would sit, never alcohol in front of her, never high on any kind of substance, never asked anybody for a penny. She just sat there. And I walked by her a few times, you know, because I'm still in my mind frame of gotta do a million things at once, I gotta make as much money as I can, all those things. And then one day I got off the bus and I stopped. And I don't know why I stopped. And I said, I have to meet her. Why am I doing this? I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing it, right? But I did. I stopped and I started to talk to her. And really, really nice lady from Russia, came here, couldn't get back home, had some family troubles. All these things were happening with her, and she didn't know where to go for help. She was afraid of the shelter system because it was dangerous for her. Her English wasn't so great. So I thought, what can I do? In the immediate, because I don't know anything about homeless services. I don't know anything about any of the things I'm doing right now. What do I do, right? First thing I thought of, why don't I just give her money, right? Because I don't know what else to do, right? So I started giving her some money. And then we were still involved in all these football pools, you know, and we would win quite often. And a friend of mine, Jeff, and I would play every week. And this guy was like a four-leaf clover. No matter what, he would win, right? So I would say to him, all right, we won $300. You know, small pools. We won $500, $200. What do you want to do? He says, how about your girl? What are we going to do for her? So regularly, I would go to a store on the corner, and I would put money every week for a charge account so she could eat whenever she wanted to. Or she had a friend that was also struggling that they could eat. There was plenty of money there. There's a few $100s on the account. You eat. If you need to bring a friend, if you have a child that you're not telling me about, you know, and then I started to, this thing overcame me of what else can I do? And then I started to leave the old life behind, the football pools and the yearn to earn all the time. I ended up in Grand Central Station, Penn Station, trying to help whoever else I could help. Then I got my friend Jeff involved, who is one of the people who started RCA from our Deerfield office. And I said to him, I need your help now. He says, I'm not in this industry. I said, you are today. And I said, I need you to send a van here. I need you to send this lady home. I need you to find her family. And I tasked them with all kinds of things that I didn't even know what I was asking for. You know, and time went on, and the truck got fixed, but I drove by, and she wasn't there. And I called, and I said, so? He says, she's fine. We took care of her.
Wow.
And for me, it was like a weight got lifted off my chest that we were going to help one soul. Just one soul at a time, right? So when I got into this, one at a time, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, it kind of fit into exactly what I was already doing.
So good.
Yeah.
You know, Marlon, that's the love of God. I believe that the root addiction, the root issue of addiction, is lust. See,
Yeah.
lust takes and takes and takes and takes. I believe the opposite of love is lust. And while we're here, I believe that God wants to encounter us so that his love transforms us into a generous person.
You know what I think the opposite of love is? Fear.
That too. Absolutely, fear.
When you're in fear,
Yeah.
you can never open your heart to love
So true.
because you're in fear. You're scared of everything.
Yeah.
Right? Lust, fear, these are all the emotions that step in the way of accepting love.
Yeah.
And God's love, and
Yeah.
your family's love, and your fellow neighbor, you know, and watching you and watching how this has really, you know, transitioned into such a cool program, because what's better than your belief system? What's better than you can come and talk to someone who's not a therapist? When I was the patient advocate here, the patients would tell me more than they would tell their own therapists, because they were afraid of
So true.
fear, right? When they were in my office, it wasn't fear, it was love. Tell me what you need, and I'll help you. I'll connect the dots for you. So I gotta tell you, Zack, what you're doing is so important, not only to the patients that come here, but to us.
Thank you.
Because it makes us really, really appreciate RCA for what it is.
Yeah.
And that's everything. We try to do whatever we can to serve in every way.
And I love the platform that RCA has given the spiritual department,
Yep.
because the spiritual department has so many venues and avenues to reach people right where they're at.
Yes.
We have people that come in and they don't believe. So we encourage, have an open heart, participate. And by the time they leave treatment, they leave believing in something. And that's our goal.
And I really would love to also thank David Dorsey for starting this.
Yeah.
So when he came in as the CEO, more of a pastor than a CEO,
So true.
you know, and I always wondered, why is he in that position?
Mhm.
He should just have an RCA church, right? Which is not out of the question.
A recovery church.
It's not out of the question. He's already spoken to Brian, and I would assume that that might be a possibility. So he started talking about a Christian program, a belief system, you know, a faith-based program. And look at what happened here.
Yeah.
You know, and I say all this, and I have Zack on because I want everybody who's listening out there to know that just because you come into treatment or you're sending a loved one into treatment does not mean we stop their faith. We are available for you. We have areas for you to pray. We have Sunday services. How often do you do service?
Every Sunday. We've been doing Sunday morning service at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Going on 2 years now.
What about during the week? What do you have?
During the week, so I'm here 6 days a week.
Mhm.
So I run meetings every day except for Saturday.
Okay.
So I'm available while I'm on campus, while I'm on site. I'm doing one-on-ones, meetings, however I can help. That's
6 days a week of availability from your program. Sunday services every week.
Every week. And virtual.
And I'm sure if we weren't in the middle of COVID and people were at a certain level of treatment, that we would invite outsiders to service.
Yeah.
Just so you know out there, we are following the guidelines from the CDC of how many people we allow in the building, how we operate. It's not that we don't want you here, because we do. We want every connection to long-lasting recovery as possible. We just have to wait for CDC to let us know when and how to do everything. So, in closing, I would like to just thank you again, Zack, for coming on. Truly amazing human being, and God picked the right one.
Marlon, thank you.
But before we go, there was a situation that happened in our cafeteria when you met my guy, the producer and founder of CTF TV. And you had a message from God. How many years ago?
Over 15 years ago, close to almost 18 years ago.
What was that message?
Well, I had a dream. It was in the beginning of my recovery. I was asking God, speak to me. And I had a dream one night, and I was in a room, and I'll make it short and sweet, but the Lord had spoke to me, and his exact words were, "Catch the Fire Ministries." And in that conversation, I was asking the Lord, what is that? That's what I said to him, what is that? And all he kept saying was, "Catch the Fire Ministries." And that was it. And I woke up, and 18 years later, I've been praying, God, what is Catch the Fire Ministries? And then I met Pastor Eric. You brought him in, and I saw his mask, and it said CTF on there. And he had explained what CTF was, Catch the Fire TV. And when he had said Catch the Fire, I just broke down. I broke down and just kind of, I don't want to say lost control, but it was kind of an answered prayer. And, my heart is however I can serve,
Sure.
whatever I can do. I don't know what that looks like, but, it was so eye-opening because, when God speaks, answered prayer doesn't happen right away. And God breaks that instant gratification over us by waiting. And patience is something that I believe is not my best virtue, but I believe that God is molding my patience, and I believe that God always comes through. He's always true to his word.
I agree, and God puts people in your life that are supposed to be there, and I believe Eric has been put in my life for a reason. I never try to figure that out, that part of it out. I try to figure out everything else, and Eric will attest to that. I always want an answer for things, but it feels right. It felt right when I met him. It felt right when I was in the dining room and you were experiencing that. And I did not know why it happened or how it happened, but I guess, why should I question?
We weren't created to fully understand God. We were created to trust him.